Wren never expected one reckless night out to rewrite the course of her life. What started as a casual bar night with Jace, a charming, easygoing biker she'd just met, ended in a devastating motorcycle crash that left them both battered and broken. Wren woke up in a hospital room 3 days later, diagnosed with a severe concussion, broken ribs and a fractured collarbone, and consumed by crushing guilt. She'd panicked mid-ride, shifted her weight recklessly, and sent them both skidding across the asphalt. Jace, she learned, had fared worse, a serious leg fracture, broken wrist and extensive road rash that would take months to heal. Discharged after 3 weeks, Wren couldn't shake the weight of what she'd done. When she overheard nurses saying Jace would need round-the-clock at-home care, she didn't hesitate. She tracked down his hospital room and volunteered to look after him during his recovery, determined to make amends for her mistake. That was how she met Kane, Jace's older brother, and vice president of the Iron Vultures Motorcycle Club. Kane was nothing like Jace. Covered head to toe in tattoos, with storm gray eyes sharp enough to cut, and a permanent snarl on his lips, he radiated danger the second he walked into the room. He blamed Wren entirely for the crash, calling her reckless, useless, and a liability to his brother. He tried to chase her away immediately, but Jace overruled him. Grateful for Wren's help and drawn to her quiet warmth, Wren moved into the brothers' house on the edge of town, settling into a daily routine of dressing Jace's wounds, managing his medications, cooking meals and helping him through physical therapy. The house was never quiet. Fellow club members, Diesel, Hawk, there and their circle, drifted in and out at all hours, drinking, laughing, talking about runs and rival crews in low, gruff voices. Kane was a constant, brooding presence. He never missed a chance to snap at her, to remind her she didn't belong in their world, to glare at her like she was a pest he couldn't swat away. But for all his cruelty, Wren couldn't help but notice the small, unspoken ways he watched out for her. He'd leave extra food on the counter when he thought she wasn't looking. He'd step between her and rowdy club members when their comments got too bold. And whenever she caught his gaze, there was something hotter than anger burning behind his eyes, something hungry, frustrated, like he hated how much she got under his skin. Curiosity got the better of her late one night. She typed the Jet brothers' names into a search engine, and what she found turned her blood cold. Mugshots, arrest records, assault charges, weapons possession. The Iron Vultures weren't just motorcycle enthusiasts, they were a criminal organization, steeped in violence, turf wars and underground deals. Kane wasn't just a grumpy biker, he was a hardened felon, the club's enforcer, feared across the county. She should have run then. But she didn't. Jace was still healing, still relying on her. And against every shred of common sense, she found herself drawn to Kane, to the raw, broken edge beneath his tough exterior. The tension came to a head when Maddock, the club's ruthless president, arrived at the house unannounced. He cornered Wren in the kitchen, grilling her about who she was, why she was there, whether she was a snitch or a cop. His words were cold, cutting, designed to break her. He told her she didn't belong, that she was a liability waiting to get everyone killed. Wren froze, terrified, until Jace limped into the room and stood up for her, vouching for her character and insisting she was under his protection. Maddock backed down, but not before warning Kane that if Wren caused trouble, it would be on his head. That same night, Kane tracked Wren down in the laundry room. He was furious, rough around the edges, and told her they were going for a ride, no arguments. When she refused, he drew his gun, calm and deadly, and told her to pick her fear. Terrified but stubborn, she climbed onto the back of his bike. He drove her up to a remote ridge deep in the woods, a secluded clearing the club used for private meetings. There he unleashed everything. He told her how dangerous the club was, how men like him didn't get happy endings, how she was soft and innocent, and would get herself killed if she stayed. He yelled, he paced, he punched a tree until his knuckles split and blood ran down his hand, anything to scare her off, to make her run. But Wren didn't run. She stared him down, tears in her eyes but her voice steady, and listed off every charge she'd found on his record. She told him she knew exactly who he was, exactly what kind of world she was stepping into, and she was still there. She wasn't the fragile little girl he thought she was. She wasn't going anywhere. Something in Kane snapped. He crossed the distance between them in 2 strides and kissed her, hard and hungry and desperate, like he'd been holding back for months. It was rough, bruising, full of all the anger and want and frustration that had been building between them. Wren kissed him back, just as fiercely, her hands tangling in his hair, all her fear and anger and longing melting into the moment. He pushed her back against a tree, his hands roaming under her shirt, and for a second, it felt like nothing else existed, no club, no danger, no guilt. Just them. Then Diesel burst into the clearing, shouting that there was trouble back at the clubhouse. Kane pulled away instantly, his chest heaving, his eyes dark with lust and fury. He ordered Wren to stay put, not to move an inch until he came back, and then he was gone, speeding down the dirt road with Diesel, leaving her alone in the fading light. Wren waited. And waited. Hours passed, the sun dipped below the trees, and Kane never came back. Humiliated and furious, she started walking down the mountain alone, no phone, no ride, no idea where she was. She tripped on a root halfway down, scraping her palms raw and tearing open her knee. By the time she stumbled into the nearest town, she was bruised, bloodied, and seething. She found the Iron Vultures at the only bar in town, packed into their usual booth in the back. Kane was there, his injured hand wrapped in gauze, a beer in front of him, surrounded by his men. He looked up the second she walked in, and his eyes locked onto hers. He didn't say a word. She didn't say a word. They just stared at each other across the crowded room, the air thick with everything unspoken, the kiss, the anger, the dangerous pull between them. Wren knew then that she was already in too deep. She'd stepped into Kane's world, and there was no walking away clean. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a quiet voice warned her, the worst was still yet to come.